Good evening. Before I played this video, I wish to do a short introduction. Why? Because this is an emergency situation for my brothers and sisters in Ireland, Erie. My heritage is Irish. Background, the Dunn family. And I love that country with all my heart. The man you're about to hear from is one of your people who's bringing forth an enormous truth, and everybody in Ireland needs to take the time and listen to the evidence that he's showing you here. It is incredible. And it is one of the first times in all the interviews that I've done, over 300 of them in the last couple of years, that I've hardly spoken. And the reason for that is this man has done his due diligence. This man is sharing with you from his heart and the journey that he's been on, the truth, and what is actually going on right now in Ireland. The people of Ireland, you're in danger, and you need to all wake up. I love you with all my heart and soul. God bless, and enjoy this incredible truth that we are bringing forth now to this world. Today's date is November the 11th, 2022. I'm blessed to have with me my brother from across the pond in Ireland, my Irish brother, Mouse Mark. Mark, thank you for calling me and contacting me. So sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to record this for you so you had a copy of it.
Fantastic, Christopher. We would just start off here with what we were saying. Christopher started me in this journey. I live on an island, and I didn't know this. It's partitioned. It was partitioned in 1921. You have Northern Ireland, that's where I apparently live, and you have the Republic of Ireland, which it's only exists on paper, Christopher, would you say?
Yes.
And since we have seen that, that man held up this book, and that is the original 1942 Constitution of Ireland. They incorporated, okay? Whereas this one is a color. No, this is the original one of this. This is the original draft constitution, which was brought out by we, the people, on the 1st of July, 1937. That's it there, the date's on it. And it's written in Clogh Gaelic. Clogh Gaelic is Irish font. And it's an indigenous text. And it was written in both English and in Clogh Gaelic. And the Clogh Gaelic is specially protected. It says on it, Irish is the first national official principal text. English is the second official text. So then I started looking a wee bit more into it, and the name of the state is Eire. Fada I-R-E. It's Ireland in the English language. So when you're writing it down on a piece of paper, you have to write Eire, Fada I-R-E, as pursuant to the enrolled text. It's on the coinage. If you take out your coinage over here, it says Eire on it. That is the Republic of Ireland, and this is the Irish Republic. That was given to us. We adopted it, and we brought it into the full force of law on the 29th of December, 1937. That's when we got independence. They say we declared independence on the 21st of January, 1919. That was the first sitting of the Dáil Éireann. That was this national government, the first sovereign government. And from then, we had a war of independence. Then we had a civil war. And then we had the Anglo-Irish Treaty, which was signed on the 6th of December, 1921 in 10 Downing Street. I have here as well, there it is there, the minutes and sessions of the treaty in the Dáil Éireann, 1921 to 1922. I have also the minutes of the first sitting Dáil Éireann in the Mansion House. They sit in a place called Leinster House now, which is not the government. It is the Crown establishment. The Crown never, ever left our island. in 800 years, the president, Uachtaráin Éireann, is his correct title. The president of Ireland incorporates him as the Viceroy Deputy to now Charles Regis III. History repeats itself every 100 years. So it's a 99-year land lease. And in the treaty, they brought out the treaty in 1921. It was signed in 10 Downing Street, 6th of December. It took 10 months to ratify. And then they brought it into the full force of law on the 6th of December, 1922. So 99 years, a 99-year lease from then to now is 99 years, 364 days, 23 hours, 59 minutes, and 59 seconds will bring you right up until midnight on the 5th of December this year. And the Queen has died. 2020, so 1945 to 2020 is the birth certificate. It's a corporation. All corporations have a lifespan of 70 to 75 years. Her corporation as the head of establishment was up. So what we are seeing is a change of the old guard. And what we witnessed over here when she died was Operation London Bridge. And I looked further into it, and there was another part called Operation Shamrock. Sinn Féin, which was the Republican Party. This is the four provinces. That's where I'm from. Up there, the yellow one, Ulster. Okay, you have Ulster, Munster, Connacht, and Leinster. And they all make up a state called Éire. And in the English language, Ireland. In the French language, Irlandais. In the Spanish language, Irlanda. In the Irish language, Éire. And it is something that the people on this island fail to recognize. They call it Ireland, they call it the Free State, they call it the Republic of Ireland, they call it Northern Ireland, they call it everything but its official name. And what I'm trying to do is, I am being so heavily censored over here. The divide over here is shocking. I have had my eyes open, Christopher. It is unbelievable. The south of the territory below us, I believe in 1922, when the Free State came into force, they called it the Irish Free State. And in Article 11 has, you can look it up, it has the 99-year land lease. That's up this year, and they're not talking about it. They're talking about constitutional change. They're talking about referendums and unification. We are the Irish Republic. We already are a 32-county independent democratic state. It was internationally recognized by France. They tipped their hat. The French Republic. That's who tipped their hat. They're now France in all caps. You know, if you go into the Chicago Manual of Styles, 17th edition, on page 666, it tells you about American Sign Language. That's it there. You know what I mean? Yep. Sign language is for the deaf and the illiterate. And that's what you're looking at all over the world. People are looking at this, all caps. And if you're looking at it, you're going to fall under that rule of law, which is maritime law. It's contract law. It's world of the dead. And you have hit the nail on the head, Christopher, and I commend you. You simplified it. You know, keep it simple, because people want to overcomplicate it. Well, Christopher, we have. I went to Dublin last year, August last year. People wanted to know more about this. You see, that is a sovereign constitution, and that is an incorporated constitution, because through the treaty is a land lease, which created a state let. It created two state land lets within a sovereign island, Éire. And they became the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland. And they pay homage to the King and Europe. Now, what I say to people is, how can you stand with a constitutional position and say you're a sovereign, independent, democratic state and Europe rules you? It doesn't make sense. We need to close down our borders. We need to get out of Europe. We need to. This, I believe, is being hidden for a massive reason. This will bring down the Commonwealth. Why? Because of the fraud that they have committed on this island. We are the gateway. We are the most westerly island in Europe. And we are the gateway to the West. We are the gateway to you. We are the gateway to the Americas. South America, the biggest economic place in the world. And we control, through this here, we control our land, air, and water. And Britain didn't want to give it up. Why? Because they would have to do a deal with us to get across, or to be able to do deals with the Atlantic. And plus, we're the last frontier for the Atlantic. Last Saturday morning, I don't want this to panic anybody, by the way. Last Saturday morning, I was lying up in my bed, 11:15 in the morning, and I heard this, my windows rattle. And I was going, wow, what is this? And I looked up, and there was 4 Typhoon jets flying low across my home. And a friend of mine sent it and says, "Did you hear that?" I says, "Did I hear it? I've seen it." That is £100 billion worth of the most sophisticated armour, fight machinery that has landed in Belfast Airport. Why? Because we're the next place till the Atlantic Ocean. They are in red alert, people. Be under no illusions. They're not telling us. But I lived through 20 years of conflict here, my first 20 years in the north. And we seen bombs, we seen people shot, we seen everything. We lived in a war. The British put us to the walls, the nationalist community. We were a second-class citizen. We know what it's like to be under scrutiny, to be under Big Brother, so to speak. We lived it. The MI5, MI6, even the higher echelons of the political parties, collusion. There was people shot that shouldn't have been shot. Everybody shouldn't have been shot. The war shouldn't have happened. Why? Because we are a 32 independent democratic state. This is a colour of law, Christopher. I know I'm going very fast, okay? But this is a colour of law which was created. It is a working definition of the rule of law. Therefore, it is accepted by a majority. The majority don't know why. It says on the front page in this here when they brought it out. How did they bring it out? They brought it out on the 1st of September, which I went and bought that book too. That is the minutes of the Dáil Éireann in September 1939. I had to prove it. I had to see it for myself. And it is called the First Amendment of the Constitution. Take into consideration that came out on the 29th of December 1937. 2 days later, you're into 1938. 2 days later, you're into 1938. Then you had 1 year, 9 months, 2 days, and that was the 1st of September 1939. They didn't want to give up Ireland, so they had to throw a big, massive war, the Second World War, and they used the world because they didn't want to give it up. I am convinced of this because we are the Emerald Isle. We are the jewel in the crown. They have us for 800 years. Why are we so, it's so important. This book, please, people, you need to understand. I know you're not in the constitutions, Christopher, because man made them and all that, but this was written in by the people. And it on this book here, it says, this text, right, because they changed the Irish to standard Irish. That is a work of art in that. It is really scripted. It's even spelled differently. Everything's completely different about it. I handed it to Irish people and I said, "Can you read that?" They couldn't read it. They couldn't read it. We had to find Irish specialists. They're translating it and all for us at the minute. But this one that they brought out is Roman civil procedure. That's what it is. Rome doesn't want to give us up with our ancient indigenous texts, so they wanted to put us onto this and take complete control of us. So this text of the Constitution, that's the Constitution. I bought the original as well. That is the Constitution. So it says, the text of the Constitution is a copy of the text prepared, a copy of the text prepared, in accordance with Article 25 and enrolled in the office of the Registrar of the Supreme Court on the 25th day of March 1942, under emergency wartime measures. We were not at war, we were a neutral country. We had 83 posts around our country which said ERA, because if we had to join forces with the Brits, the Germans would have bombed the dung out of us. If we had to join forces with the Germans, the Brits would have. So it says we're neutral. It's known, and we've remained neutral until now. The transitionary provisions, Articles 51 to 50 or 63, inclusive, which continue to have the force of law, and however omitted from the official text, omitted, which means it's still there. This has got 63 articles. This has got 50 articles. In 1942, the Second Amendment, that was done under the First Amendment, was emergency time of war. Then they done more corruption, and on the 1st of May 1941, they came out with the definition of tidying up the articles. Wow. So what is the definition of tidying up something? To take away or to remove. That is 50 articles of the same book. That is 63 articles of the original book. In 63 articles, no, in 50 articles, there are 42 more words than what there is in 63 articles. Now, they removed articles 51 to 63 conclusively, 13 articles. And in the last article, it says, and they run from this. They run from this. Why? Because this text is embodied forever. It says, a copy of this Constitution, signed by the Taoiseach, the Chief Justice, and the Chairman of Dáil Éireann, shall be enrolled for record in the office of the Registrar of the Supreme Court, and such signed copy will be conclusive, irrefutable evidence of the provisions of this Constitution, this one, in case of conflict between the Irish and English text, the Irish text shall prevail. They don't want to know that there, because the Irish text then takes supremacy over this. Yep. And in the first, it says here in the preamble, because what this book here done was remove the oath to the king. Right? It removed the oath to the king, and we have an oath to our divine Lord Jesus, our divine Lord Christ God. And it says, the preamble, in the name of the most holy Trinity, from whom is all authority, and to whom our final end, all actions of both men and states will be referred. My friend Rory Bryan asked that in the Constitutional Court of Record after doing a divine special appearance and using the Zeddy key. He says, yes, we, Zeddy key. Rory Breen is Adam Dunn. That was bringing in French, Irish. He says, I claim I am a living man, Irish native in the territory era. Then he held up the Constitution and he says, do you recognize this Constitution to the judge? And it was an original green copy. I found it. And she sat there. Alice Doyle was her name, Alice of the Doyle family. She read it out in a court too. We got her to read it out. It was wonderful. It's all recorded, and I'm going to send it to you. You're going to love it. Then he says, I'll ask you again, do you recognize this Constitution? She sat and she was going, yeah. And she was going, oh. And he goes, am I going to ask you a third and final thing? Do you recognize this Constitution? She says, Yes, I do. Now, can you please sit down? And he goes, I'm Bunrat. That means the Irish Constitution. And he says, go me and my august, and he sat down. And so she was arguing with him during the procession. And he says, have you read my conditional acceptance? And she was going, I have looked at it. I haven't read it. And he says, may I suggest you read it? Okay, whatever. And she'll read it the next time. And he was saying, my fee schedule is into the court too. And she was going, that holds no water in this court. He says, there is no water in this court. This is a constitutional court of record. The place went silent. But once he read out this here, I told him, if you want to get their attention, read out the first part of the preamble. He says, all actions of both men and states will be referred. We counted 15 long seconds. Everybody was arguing. Barristers, everything. 15 long seconds. There was complete silence. You could hear the pin drop. Then he says, now, we will have no more nonsense in this court. And they went into, so the next thing they adjourned the court. They took us back. The next time we went back, the court was full of sergeants of the Garda. I looked, every one of them had 3 stakes. They were everywhere. And they were all there. He put invitations out to them to see to come along. And he fought for his life. He's fighting for his property with some finance company, Pepper Finance, trying to come in and take his family home property, homestead off them. It's vulture funds, European vulture funds. And he's fighting them through using the Constitution and through, he has got in contact with the Inland Revenue Service in America, the whole lot. He's done a lot of change in his status and things like that. He's using the Constitution because this Constitution affords us, it says on it here, we the people of Eire, humbly acknowledging all our obligations to our divine Lord Christ God, who sustained our fathers through century of trial, gratefully remembering their heroic and unremitting struggle to regain the rightful independence of our nation, and seeking to promote the common good with due observance, prudence, justice, and charity, so that the dignity and the freedom of the individual may be assured, true social order attained, the unity of our country restored, and concord established with other nations, do hereby adopt on the 1st of July, this one, enact and give to ourselves this Constitution on the 29th of December. That's an original copy of it. And it came into full force of law. Then you go into Article 1, and I ask people are saying, I'm a sovereign, and I'm going, but you don't need a piece of paper to tell you anything. You have it up in here. Knowledge is power. You've always said it, Christopher. A piece of paper, they can take it and rip it up and throw it away, and then what do you have? Nothing. Nothing. You have the clothes you're standing in, and that's it. You need to have knowledge. You need to know the difference between jurisdictions, land, air, water. I'm standing on the land. I'm breathing in the air. I walk into a shop. I take out money. I hand it over. I hand over a promise to pay the bearer on demand. He gives me a product. That is commerce. That is wet law. We have contracted. That is law. It's pretty simple. Laws, land, air, water, space. You're standing in my space. Can you please stand back, please? You know, it's universal. It was antecedent before even this Constitution. But this Constitution embodied God and not a sovereign king. It embodied God as a sovereign people, because we had been through enough in this country and we're still not out of it. We're more shaped now than what we were ever in. It's a banana kangaroo republic. It's disgusting. There's a man getting in now. Leo Varadkar's getting back into government after being voted out. He's becoming Taoiseach again now because he done a deal with Micheál Martin. And it says it in this book that once they suspended the Constitution via a time of war in 1939, that it leaves the door open for future governments to do likewise and to change the Constitution. And that's exactly what they're doing. Two governments have two parties in the House have came together united, and now they're going out to change the Constitution. And they're doing it under panic and fear while nobody's looking. And they're talking about constitutional change. They know the 99-year lease is up, and they're not saying there's a 99-year lease. It was signed here. Why? Because the North was a unionist majority, Protestant, right? There was 2/3 unionist majority, 1/3 nationalist. Half the nationalists then fled to the south for fear of their life. And that's the agreement of why that there was signed, the treaty was signed. It is no longer, we done a census in 2020, and it is no longer a unionist majority. So you had two people on this island. You had people who identified as Irish nationalists, and you had people who identified as British citizens, British subjects up in the north. And they're right, they're entitled to do so. If they want to do that, they're entitled to do so. The census there just came out and they held it back. And it came out there and they says the north is no longer a unionist majority. Sinn Féin won the election, which just passed there in May. Not one of them have sat in government since. And now they're talking about our election. They are now the largest nationalist party in the north for the first time in the creation of 100 years. And it is a nationalist. Sinn Féin are now becoming the biggest party in the south. And that gives them a mandate to come as a united Ireland under the crown. They're looking to reincorporate Northern Ireland, all caps and brackets, it only exists on paper, and Republic of Ireland, all caps and brackets, only exists in paper, acts of Parliament. If you look up Westminster, Westminster is actually the third Dáil, the third government for Ireland. And this book here, Article 1, the nation. So who is the nation? The nation is the people. We the people. So that's why Article 1, 2, and 3 in the Constitution is the nation. The Irish nation hereby affirms it's inalienable. Where did you ever hear that there before? Inalienable, indefeasible, and sovereign right to choose its own form of government, to determine its relations with other nations, and to develop its life, political, economic, cultural, in accordance with its own genius. The saints and scholars and traditions. Well, Irish people have many traditions, and I can tell you this, people, it's not alcohol. It's not alcohol. Alcohol was the biggest poison. I'm a recovering alcoholic 9 years. It nearly took my life. And I'm here now. I'm a single parent to look after my 2 children, and I'm worried about the future that we're leaving for them. And if I don't do nothing about this, well, my grandchildren, if they get to come about, will say to me, "What did you do, Granda?" Well, at least I can say I tried. I sat and talked to good people like Christopher here. You know what I mean? I tried. The national territory, Article 2. The national territory consists of the whole island. It's the whole island of Ireland, its islands and its territorial seas. Back in 1920, they had us all cut off like they did back in the 1840s with, they called it the famine. It was the Great Hunger. They starved us. There was any amount of food in this country. Era is a translation of Eru. Eru was an ancient goddess who is apparently buried in Newgrange. Newgrange is older than the pyramids. That's in Ireland here. It's about 70 miles from me. I was at it there. It is magnificent. The energy from it, that is your Bamba, Dagda, Eru, all the gods of, mythical gods. Were they mythical? We don't know. You know what I mean? I don't believe that they were mythical. I do not believe that they were mythical. Ireland is, Eru translates into fat lands, lands of abundance. That's why the Brits don't want to give us up. They have leached off us. They have leached off us for 100 years. Why? Because they have a mighty army. They've never defeated us in 800 years. But we are under the biggest fate of our life, Christopher. And that's what brought me to you. That is what they call Northern Ireland. That's it. That's what they call Northern Ireland. Ulster. That's the 6 counties. That's what the Brits own, or say they own on paper. That's up. Well, what that is there, all them blue marks there, you see there. How long? There. That's where I live. Right in the centre, mid-Ulster. And you see this big blue bit here? That's all gold mining for a Canadian gold mine called Dalradian Gold. They've invested 345 million. Their biggest investor is BlackRock Bank. They want this here to go ahead up there, and it's 15 miles from my home. And it's on the highest raised black bog in Western Europe. You can't dig turf to heat your home, but you can dig gold. It's crazy. There's already a gold mine operational about 10 miles from it. It was an open cast gold mine. Now they're getting in underneath. Now it's only worth 45 million in investment. So Dalradian, and the way corporations work is they do a merger takeover. Well, Dalradian don't have a cyanide license. They need a cyanide license. They can't get one because they're only a prospecting. So they buy over Galantis Gold, who has a cyanide license. What we're doing is they're digging all the stuff out. It's minute gold, and they're looking to dig it all out of our natural. It's a natural, outstanding natural area of natural beauty. The Spurn Mountains. It's my home. It's stunning, and they want to dig all that out and put it on the lorries and bring it up to Derry, which is here, and put it on the ships in the Foyle River, this big ship, and this stuff here, they're going to ship it across to you in Canada, and you are going to process it with cyanide. Then you are going to send the tailing stumps back to us, the waste, and they'll take the good stuff and create it into gold and whatever, and silver and whatever. And then they put the tailing stumps. Now, there was a mining disaster back in the 60s in Wales, Aberthan, and it was a coal mine, and it was the tailing stump was 15 stories. The one that they've planned up here it's a higher mountain. It's the exact same setup. There's a village right in underneath it, a full community, a primary school, a football pitch, a wee shop, a wee pub, just an Irish village. This big thing's up above it, and if there is, say, a shake or anything happens, a landslide of any sort, this is 51 stories high. This will wipe that whole village out. They've put this village down as a sacrificial village. But not only that, it's even more nefarious than that, because here is a 2014 geological, it's called Implementing Geological Disposals, Department of Energy and Climate. And it's a 2014 white paper. And it is to go out to all the devolved governments of the UK, meaning Scotland, Wales, England, and Northern Ireland. And what it is discussing is the likes of Sellafield nuclear reactor waste places and things like that have a shelf life, and they're all coming to the end of their shelf life. So what do they want? They need to get rid of this radioactive waste. So they came up with these things called geological disposal facilities. And disposal being the operative word. Once it goes in, it's not coming out. Well, our mountains here have all granite mountains. They are perfect. But if they put it into the center, it's even more perfect, because if they have to evacuate 60 miles that way, 60 miles that way, 60 miles that way, 60 miles that way. England and all's over there, and the sea and all, so put it into the center. They want to go ahead with these geological disposal facilities, and it is a UK state-owned corporation called RWM, Radioactive Waste Materials. And they have been, we have to have a devolved government to pass this. We haven't had a sitting government in the north here. So now civil servants are passing the climate and infrastructure bill. They have passed that without our even saying so, from home rule over in England. And there's nobody shouting about it. And it's setting it up for this. And if they put one bit of that into our country, a wee tiny island like Ireland, they're looking to ram that stuff into it. England has turned it down, Scotland has turned it down, and Wales has turned it down. It only leaves one other place to put it. So if they dig up that top bog, that bog has energy in it, ether. If you dig deep enough down in there, you'll release gases. Well, those gases are called NORMs, natural occurring radioactive materials. And there's radon in that. And what is radon? Radon is naked to the eye, but you may as well be standing in an X-ray machine. And that is a way up high on a mountain, and that's just going to blow that way, that way, that way, and that way. And that will decimate our country. And we are seen as surplus to requirement, the Irish people. We always have been. And we've just walked sleepingly into this. The south of the island here is the second highest vaccinated per populace per head in the world, behind Israel. The north here is the least most vaccinated in the UK. Why? Because we went through 40 years of war. We know what it was like to be dumbed down with crowd control measures. We were the testing ground for the likes of Mossad, for the KGB, for CIA, coming in to see how to do crowd control for this very time. For this very time. We were bit, we were kicked, we were shot, but we're still fighting. And that's why I reached out to you, Christopher, because I want this here to get further out to Irish people around the world, not just in Ireland, because the people in Ireland are sleeping. And they're fighting with each other, left and right, left wing, right wing, same board, same controllers, same paymasters. Every one of them are running about now trying to start up political parties. Every one of them are secret societies. I am who I am. I stand here honest. The truth, a lie cannot live, and the truth will set us free. And I do believe that this, you see, what they done here that is the Constitution, okay? I'm saying me knee. And they done away with it in 1939 under emergency wartime measures. On the 25th of March, 1942, they brought out this. And that has remained a working definition of the rule of law ever since, 80 years. So this is our chance to save this Indigenous text. It's our last chance, because if we don't, it's gone forever. This has worked its course for 80 years or whatever. But now our country must be reunified again, because it is no longer a unionist state. It is no longer under British control. They have no more hold on us. But if they do put that in, a radioactive waste dump, they manage it. And that means that it ties Ulster or Ireland to the UK for eternity. And that's how severe, there's nobody talking about it. Our political parties are all in this. 25% of Ulster has been prospected. That one gold mine up there is 84,000 hectares. It is the largest gold mine in the world. It hasn't went ahead yet. They're looking to put in a processing plant. We've been fighting it tooth and nail. Not more so. There's other men up there that have camped up on the mountain for 6 years, and they have fought it, and they are under attack. The PSNI, the Police Service of Northern Ireland, they are a private security firm for the gold firm. They go out, if anybody goes out to see the gold firm or anything like that, the police are at their doorsteps arresting them, bringing them in, wondering, and this is for a corporation. Not even, it's a Canadian corporation. It doesn't matter where it's from, China, where it's from. They're treating Irish people who live in the mountain like dirt. And they have come in with their coin, and they have split a community. Brothers and sisters and families have split completely. Some are for the mine, some are not for it. It has completely destroyed them. The coin, it's all down to the pound. You can't eat paper, people. You can't eat paper. You know what I mean? You need the land. I see myself as a land, air, and water protector, a law protector. Because our airways will be destroyed by this. There is fresh water per mussel up there. You can go up and drink out of that river like that there, Christopher. It's beautiful. And these freshwater pearl mussels only survive in the freshest water known to man. And once they're gone, they're gone. They're saying, oh, we're doing everything we can to protect them. It takes one wee drop of cyanide. 1 gram of cyanide can kill 100 men. And they're looking to process 2.1 ton of it per day. And it's about 100 meters up from that river source. Also, if you want to build nuclear reactors or anything like that, you have to have the finest water source for the reactors to keep them cool. We are a prime position for it. 28% of the south is prospected. We are the European Union's answer to zero net emissions. Our country, they're calling it Oreland, O-R-E-L-A-N-D, open for business. They are bringing in, they have flooded our country with Eastern Europeans. They're coming across in Cali to Dover on dinghies. The British are lifting them, and because the Brits have done Brexit, they have set up new sovereign rules that you need to fit certain criteria before you can stay in their country. Most of these people are being shipped across from Africa. For the white man and the Brits and all that there were out there this past 50 years, raping, pillaging them, stealing from them, and now they're coming over here and they want their 2 cents worth. And the governments are facilitating it. And they're calling them refugees of war, economic necessity and all that. They're putting, the hotels in the south of this country are full to the neck with foreign nationals from Ukraine, Uganda, Somalia, all these war-torn countries. There's no children. They're all fighting age men. They're eating 3 courses a day. It's all secretive. Anybody goes there, it's hate speech, anything like that. We just want answers. Ireland and England was the only place in Europe that didn't fall, under the Antifa and all that, and the streets being wrecked and everything being burnt. Why? Because we like our country. We like our country. It's nice. We're nice people. We don't go out and fight with each other. But I have a funny feeling when the lights go out this winter, because they're telling us that there's power shortages coming. when the lights go out, those people are going to be released from the hotels and put on black masks, and they're going to blame the Irish, and they're going to pull all the major cities apart, and they're going to loot and steal, and they're going to really push us into submission. And that's what I think they are here for. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But if history proves that they have been flooded in here by the likes of George Soros and all, you can be sure that is heavily funded. You just can't get from Africa on a pair of plimsolls and walk your whole way to France and then swim across the channel. If you've done that there, 80 days around the world, you know what I mean? These people are being shipped in, and we are surplus to requirement. We are the goal. This island is the goal. And I think we have a solution here. I think this is the Berlin Wall moment. Why? Because if we're a sovereign independent state and they've done it all through fraud, which is the first point of fraud, well, it's the 1st of September 1939, the beginning of the Second World War. We have been in a perpetual state of war ever since. In the north here, they put a ring of steel around us. When I was growing up, we used to walk out and there was British soldiers standing pointing guns at you as a child. It was shocking. That's what we lived. And here we are. We're the nicest people in the world. I don't care what anybody says. We're good crack. We enjoy it. We can take a bit of banter. You know what I mean? We don't take life too serious. But when it comes to our own issues of knowing who you are, what you are, and most importantly, where you are. Where you are. Where are you in this time? I am standing on an indigenous soil. The name of that territory is called Eire. Thank you very much for listening to me, Christopher. I just want to get this message out that we need help. We need help over here. If this goes ahead, their plan is to wipe out our country. Like the graveyard of my hometown here. 43 years of age, right? And I lived next to the graveyard growing up. We used to play soldiers and all in around the graveyard, running in. You were able to hide. Growing up, that was our playground. And all my life, one part of it, I was going, wow, there must be some people in there because they never seem to fill it. And now they've built, it's a big, massive hill. I have a video on my YouTube channel, Eire Says No to Mining. There's a lot of videos on there, just their videos. I don't do really much else. They're just videos of what is happening, the gold mining and things like that. And this graveyard, they have dug it up, and in a time of austerity and all, no money in the councils or nothing, they've dug it all up, and they have put thousands of grave plots. Thousands of grave plots. You could fit thousands of people in here. All you have to do is dig it up. It's on my Eire Says, and it will shock you. Then there's another one 15 miles across from here. It's called Mid Ulster as well. It's called Marfelt. And they were digging the same. They were doing the same. And the councils are trying to say, oh, we're only just tidying up the graveyards, No, you aren't. You know what's coming. The people are dropping around me like flies, Christopher. Young people are full of cancer. There's people dropping. There's people I know that have dropped and they're still here, and I don't know how. Look, we are in uncertain times, people, and if we don't take accountability of who we are, first and foremost, clean house. Who are you? Who really are you? Are you going to stand up for yourself? Because if somebody comes to my door, I tell you what, I don't cause violence. But if you take a step over my door, I'll cut your throat, and I'll make no bones about it. Because I have 2 children in here, and I'll protect them there. If you're coming for me, I'll take you out first, or I'll make a good go at it. And I make no apologies for saying that, because we're getting to a time like that there and across the world. And, as I said, I opened it up there. It's waking up, Dorothy. You're not in Kansas anymore. Wake up and smell the coffee, people. This isn't going away. This is a 10-year plan. This is 2020 to 2030. You know, you look at the last time they done that there, the Deep Depression of 1929, Wall Street, they collapsed it. You know, it was done by the same people, the Rothschilds. You know, who is the Queen or the King's head financier? Rothschild, Evelyn Rothschild. He died there yesterday, did he not? 91 years of age he died. But sure, somebody else will take another Rothschild to take his place. Why? Because they're the puppet masters of the Queen. She was only the head of the establishment. What is the establishment? It's the British Accredited Register, the bar. It derives its authority from King Henry VIII. That's how far it goes back. The King's Inn, where they train all the barristers. What is the Vatican? The Vatican is over ecclesiastical law, the air. So they control the air. They control the Holy Spirit, so to speak. If you breathe in the Holy Spirit, whenever you're born. So I'll prove that you're a sovereign. The midwives years ago would have said, look, it's crowning. The baby's crowning. What do you put a crown on? A sovereign. So there you've established your sovereign being. Then they take you out and hit you a smack in the ass. Because why are you sovereign? God told you everyone was born equal, and you have equal right to everything. Just don't fall on to the 7 deadly sins of greed, gluttony, all that there. And if you don't fall on to the 7 deadly sins, there's a good chance you'll not break the 10 commandments. Well, we've already all broke the 10 commandments. Why? Because everything has a price. And that is a fake idol. Money is a fake idol. Why? So the Queen's head's on it. The Queen's head's in your money, Christopher, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yep.
You know, she's only supposed to rule England. No, she rules the seas. Rule Britannia, Britannia rules the seas. Well, what is the seas? It's maritime law. It's wet law. It's contract law. Provide the contract upon which you're relying on. You see, in a time of war, you see your passport. Your passport is one of the most powerful documents that you use to travel. I open up the front page of mine that says, the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Trade of Ireland requests whom it may all concern to allow the bearer, a citizen of Ireland, to pass freely without hindrance and afforded all the necessary protection. Then you open up your passport and you'll see the map of where I'm from. There's no borders in it. And what's it say in the front of it? Era. But they even capitalized that because they wouldn't recognize our indigenous way. They capitalized the E and put a fada on it, whereas it's supposed to be a small e.
Yep.
Like if you go to school, people, right? Your first few years of school, this is how they do it. They bring you in and they go, you have to learn your ABCs. So they go A, B. So A for apple, B for banana, C for cat. You get what I'm saying. Then you go into PC or primary 3. You're about 7 years of age. The first 7 years of your contract. And they start teaching you the world of capitalism. So they show you an A, and then they do an A, a big A, and then they do a B. A B doesn't even look like a B. And then a C, and a D doesn't look like a D. But the one I love is this one here, and I want to show you all this. I want to show you if I can. You have 2 letters which are beside each other in the alphabet, and it's I and J. And once you capitalize them, right? So the I is the head of the man, as you always say, Christopher. Always use the small I. Never capitalize it. Why? Because there's the wee man, and you cut the head off it. What you do is You put it across the gap and you've just cut the head off him. Roman civil procedure. D-based Latin. It is an older code. Look up Romney Scott on Justinian Deception, and he does a wonderful one there of the cartoon with Madagascar.
Yep.
Can you read?
Yep.
There's the book. Chicago Manual of Styles. Page, and this one in the 16th edition is page 757. And it says, American Sign Languages, and it's under foreign languages. Sign languages is a visual gesture used by deaf people in the different parts of the world are called sign languages. Sign languages are quite different from spoken languages, although there may be different regional effects of language contact, and particular sign language may or may not share the national or geographic boundaries as spoken languages, people. This is the book that, it's called The Essential Guide for Writers, Editors, and Publishers. Now, who is writers, editors, and publishers? What was Boris Johnson? He was the editor of a newspaper. Then he went into politics. What is Keir Starmer? Or a criminal who kept Jimmy Savile out of jail. He was the Crown prosecutor. These people are language experts. And if ignorance of the law is no excuse, people, if you fall ignorant to what language that these people are trying to put in front of you, if a policeman brings you in, they always write out the statement. And they write in small caps. That's called glossa. It should have hyphens in between it. But it doesn't. So then every single one of them words are just joined together. It becomes one big, massive, long snake. And what's at the head of the snake? The serpent. It's called diglossa. And you just get caught by the tongue, the sting of the tongue. The Pope has it above him, everything. The Pope outside the Vatican has the acorn. That's your pineal gland. You see your head here, people? You have the 33rd vertebrae. That's the cross of Jesus bird. He was the first recorded enlightened man on planet Earth. Why? Pontius Pilate was not a man or a woman. It was government. And he says, I am not paying taxes or anything to any government because I am free. I believe in a higher power. And that is God. And only through me will you get to the kingdom of heaven. Why? Because they couldn't take his freedom away from him. Your freedom remains up in here. They'll come and they'll intimidate you. They'll knock your door and everything. Don't let them inside your head. Because you see, the minute that they walk away, they're on the next number that comes up. They don't even think about you. So don't let them inside your head. It's all a mind game. And everything that happens in the courtroom is all theatrical. And if you know to put in the correct paperwork, as Christopher says, Christopher, the education that you've given men and women around this world, my mother loves you. You've cured my mother. I need to get back to that. Hydrogen peroxide. Remember there back in November 2020, I had a big lump on my throat. There it is there. There's a scar there. And I sent you an email. And I says, Christopher, I'm not well at the minute. I was putting you in contact with Dolores or something, and you were looking at me. And you says, Mark, look up this man, Ken Hughes. I'm going to have him on the show very soon. And I goes, right. And look up hydrogen peroxide and look up cannabis oils, which I already had, and look up the ozone machine. And when you see this, there you go. There's your ozone machine, people.
Hey, I recognize that.
Yes, of course you recognize that. That goes in my house, and that is on every night. And my mother has it on. My mother couldn't breathe this time last year. It was the 29th of October 2021. And she couldn't breathe. She has COPD. She hasn't taken the vaccine. She listened to me and all that. And I says, right, well, since she's listening to me, I says, Mum, you're going to have to start doing this. What is it? I says, I got her one of them machines. I put it on and I started her in the drips. And by the 3rd of November, for the first time in 60 years, she stopped smoking. She had no intentions of stopping smoking. She stopped smoking. She's remained off the cigarettes. And she had a wee bit of a flutter there last week or 2 weeks ago. She couldn't breathe. And I rang her and I goes, what's wrong? Can't breathe. I goes, have you any hydrogen peroxide? No. I goes, why didn't you tell me? I came up with a hydrogen peroxide, turned on her machine, and within 20 minutes she was sitting up laughing at the side of the bed. After 3 days in bed. Flood your body with oxygen. If you go to a doctor, put it like this here, if you go to a doctor, people, right, this is the insanity of it. If he cured you, and he cured the next man, he cured the next man, and everybody was walking out, doctor ain't going to have no job in 6 years.
No.
You know, you being sick, you're a cash cow. Once you come onto this earth, you're a cash cow. You're worth your weight in gold. You're floating on the stock exchange. The Queen owns the stock market. You know, they are the administrators through the London Mail. Then you have the Vatican City. It's the smallest city in the world. They are all the cardinals are the most experienced, not priests, the most experienced barristers on planet Earth. They write the laws and they hand them out to the barristers in maritime law, and they legislate them through the likes of the Houses of Commons, and then they push it out around the rest of the world on different geological, just because they're trying to remove Article 41 out of this year, which is fundamental rights. You know, but they're trying to remove the Bill of Rights in England. Because England, they're talking about constitution in England. England don't have a constitution. England have a load of bills and rights not there.
Yep.
We're a constitutional republic. It's the Irish Republic. I am not a Republican. I live in a republic. A Republican is a desire to live in a republic. We achieved that there. You know, it's all written in the history books. It's the people that don't accept it. Yep. It has to come from the people. Yep. They invited President Higgins to the 100th anniversary of partition in this country. It was the 100th anniversary of Northern Ireland, but it was partition. They split the country in two. And he says, no, I'm not going. And the whole thing was all, oh, wait. And they asked him the next day, and he says, they invaded the wrong man. And they were going, who did they invade? They invaded the president of the Republic of Ireland. I am not the president of the Republic of Ireland. I am the president of Ireland. And in the Irish language, Inuktarana here. That is a 32 county independent democratic state. He is calling out to the people because he has to operate under whatever rule of law is in at the minute. But he's trying to tell us. Then he says that they must recall their factual setting as much as possible. Well, here we are, recalling our factual setting. And this is our findings, young Michael D. Higgins. We went in and Rory, he says, in the court, he said, I wrote out the questions the night before. And he went into the court and he asked Alice 5 times before she would answer. Do the rules of Roman civil procedure apply to I, Rory Bryan, Irish national, in the territory era? Everything was, and he just, do the rules of Roman civil procedure 5 times. On the 5th time, there was a guard standing behind him, and we had a courtroom full of people. And the guard stood behind him or beside him to protect him. He called him up and says, I need protection here, because they were going to hold him in contempt. And he came up, and that guard's name was Sergeant McD. Michael D. He couldn't write this stuff.
Yep.
And he stood there, and it was asked 5 times, and she says, is it within the provisions of the Constitution, the Irish Constitution? No. Well then, no, they don't. And the whole place went, and the roar went up, and it was, silence, silence in the court, silence. She walked out of the court 3 times, and she came back in. 3 cloaks, 3 times she changed her cloak. We had her under pressure. Then the barrister stood up, and she even gave him the opportunity, because he says, are you, who in this, or he says, point out the person who owes the money. Point out the person. Oh, this is all things I hear from you, Christopher. Couldn't point them out. Then she read out his conditional acceptance. She came back out with this cloak on with a red on it. And she sat down and she just goes, right. And she just started reading his conditional acceptance. And she read out everything, but she didn't read out the final bit. The beneficiaries, SGQV, Rory Bryan, da-da-da. But she read out Alice of the Doyle family. It's all there. On here says no to Maiden. Go in, I urge you to go in and watch it. And she says, she didn't read that out. And then she goes, now it's over to you, Mr. O'Malley, the barrister. And he was standing there, and it was roasting. It was in the middle of July, the 19th of July, Wexford. And he stood up, and she gave him the opportunity to take off his cloak, because she knew he was about to commit a crime of personages. And he says, on the record, I am going to put personages on Rory Bryan. And Rory stood up and goes, have you just witnessed a crime being committed in this court? And she goes, there was no crime. Or she goes, if you want to report the crime, no. He says, you're putting personages on 11 men. And she says, if you want to report the crime, you can see the Garda after proceedings. And then she tried to deny that she said that. And the Garda, the sergeant says, no, 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 you did say that. And he stood up, and he has put personages on, and he stood up and he read this mumbo jumbo, you know, the legalese bullshit. And 45 minutes, and he never missed one full stop. I had to take my hat off to him, because the whole world, all eyes were on him, and he stood up there. And when he was walking out of that court, I went up into his face with the Irish Constitution, and I went like that, right into it. Well, the tricolour was right in front of him as well. We brought the tricolour in and dropped it in the court and everything. And I went up and I goes, I'm the and he just put the smile down and walked out. So we're still, from then, the guards have attacked Rory big time. He's under attack by the council, the guards, the state. They call him Green Suit Man because he wore a tweed green suit, the colour of his thing. Then we walked out of the court, and the guard came out. Sergeant Mick came out and took a statement of the crime being committed. He ran out on our heels behind us to get it, took the statement. Then we waited a few days, and the guard, Rory, rang the guards and left a message for him, and he rang him back, and he rang back, and he goes, hello, is that Rory? Yes. Rory, yes, I'll give you the pulse number, you know. And Rory goes, yeah. And he goes, what happens after that? He goes, oh, nothing. That'll be registered or just put away, and, you know, you've lodged the file. And Rory goes, no, you seen a crime being committed. I seen no crime being committed. Oh, you did? You seen a crime being committed? No, 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 I didn't. And he goes, Mick, he says, you're under oath. He says, you seen a crime being committed? He says, no. He says, you accused the Crown establishment. This is coming from a Garda Síochána in Ireland, the south. You accused the Crown establishment of putting personages on 11 man. Rory says, no, I didn't. I proved it. And he says, By the way, Mick, this call's being recorded. Mick says, good. I hope it is. That's the best I can do for you. Get it to the Supreme Court. He says, you accused the Crown establishment of putting personages on a living man. The Crown establishment. I thought the Crown was gone out of Ireland in 1920. Obviously not. And this was a sergeant in the Garda, Wexford Garda Station, by the name McD. We've got a president called McD, by the way. And he admitted it. And I have it all up on here, says no demeanour. You'll have a good bit of fun watching through these now, Christopher. But look, we're in a time here where we're under attack. Our resources, our land, minerals and waterways are under attack. They are seeing us as Europe and the UK's answer to zero net emission. They're willing to sacrifice one of the smallest islands and most glorious, historic, oldest indigenous people in the world. They're looking to put us to the wall one more time. And if we don't get this out there to the people of our, around the world, across the world, I hate saying around, across the world, you know, that I want people to speak up about this here. I want people to ask the question. And first and foremost, I want people to stop calling it Ireland. Call it ERA. E-Fada-I-R-E. Take out your coinage. If you live in the south of this island, take out your coinage and look at it. What is the most important thing a state can issue? It's coinage. It's passport. Now, this is the passport that's in today. Look at the colour of that one. That's fully incorporated. Compared to that one, which was semi-incorporated, that's fully incorporated. They've removed Articles 2 and 3 from the unrolled text. But Christopher, I'm not going to take up any more of your Friday evening. And I really do appreciate everything that you're doing for the world and what you've done for my mother and what you've done for me, because it's you, the man that got me in this journey. It's you. And I owe all that to you. Owe all that to you.
Well, if I can speak here for a second, Mark, I just want to say that I've been on this journey a very long time, and what you have presented here to me and to the world is absolutely amazing. It is, you know, it's through the grace of God that this knowledge has come through all of us, and you are a beacon of light for your people in your country. You're a beacon of light for the people in this world, and that is how you give thanks for all the work that I've done. It's very emotional for me to hear this because, you know, you get it. And this is what our world needs to see. Our world needs to see. It's emotional for me too, Roy.
It's emotional for me.
Yeah. Well, like I say, it's you've shared the most important thing, as we always teach everyone, is that knowledge is power. But knowledge is no good if you don't use it. And this is the first time I want everyone to really know. Mouse and I, Mark, we've been talking for a couple of years now almost. And, you know, you were very astute in how we communicated, but this is the first time we've had a face-to-face. And I had no idea of the enormous amount of work that you've done here, the enormous amount of detail that you've laid in where you've got the physical evidence. So I want to just mention something too on a correction standpoint. Even though I talk about the constitutions, you have to understand the difference between what you've just showed me and what is going on in the rest of the world. In Canada here, we don't have that foundational document that we, the people, created. We had this crown entity that came onto our lands and destroyed the native communities, and then they implemented it and they forced this upon the people. We didn't have what the incredible people in Ireland have, and my heritage is you know, my family name is Dunn, and it's, you know, you're my brother from across the pond, so to speak, and I am so grateful for everything that you're doing. And I'm going to get this out to the world, and we're going to share it with everybody, because this is not about Mark. It's not about Christopher. No. It's about what these two people here before you, the truths that we've been bringing forward honorably, powerfully, and most importantly with love for our world. And that is going to root out this evil that exists right now. And I will do everything in my power to bring this to the attention of the Irish people in the world. And I will do this to the best of my ability to see that we stop this evil together, Mark. So from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you so much, my friend, for this incredible discussion today.
God bless, Christopher. And I hope we can maybe catch up again and do this, you know, and look, Rory would be able to. Rory is a fantastic speaker, and Rory would be able to actually explain what happened in the court. I was there, but it's his story to tell. It's him who evoked Irish law. It's him who went in under divine special. He done all his paperwork, and I mean, he went to battle. He went to battle. He took it because they knew what he had was the truth. They could not deny it. And they actually admitted the rules of Roman civil procedure do not apply to Irish national native men and women in the territory era. They do in the Republic of Ireland under the Crown establishment.
That's right.
But not if you're an Irish national native in the territory. Not
That's
on,
right.
in.
That's right. A man or a woman. And that's what people need to understand, that, you know, we've been bamboozled, we've been lied to, we've been misled. Our parents, you know, they did the best raising us in the environment that they grew up their entire lives. But these foundational truths, these powerful truths, Mark, that you've brought forward and you've demonstrated to the people here today, our parents were not given this. And imagine if this conversation that you and I have had today, imagine if you and I were taught this when we were first brought into this world, and the difference between legal and lawful. We would not be in this situation. We would not have these people that are acting for service corporations masquerading as government running amok over we the people. And I believe that you are going to be an incredible light for this world, and we are going to stop this, Mark, together. So again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much, Mark. I will get this up as soon as possible for the world. And I love you with all my heart, brother. And I look forward to the day that I can come to that wonderful, incredible island and hug all my brothers and sisters.
There's a bed here for you anytime, brother.
Thank you so much, Mark. I love you with all my heart.
God bless.
God bless you too.
Thank you, Christopher.
Thank you.
And I see a whole army of my countrymen here in defiance of tyranny. You've come to fight as free men. And free men you are. What will you do with that freedom? Will you fight? Fight against that? No! We will run. And we will live. Aye. Fight and you may die. Run and you'll live. At least a while. And dying in your beds many years from now, would you be willing to trade all the days from this day to that for one chance, just one chance, to come back here and tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom! Fine speech. Now what do we do?
Just be yourselves.
Where are you going?
I'm going to pick a fight.
Well, it didn't get dressed up for nothing.